More to add?
I don't have much more to add. We can briefly run down the list there, the engineer's report that I submitted.
Okay.
The contractor for Scarmazzi did finish the base and the binder courses of asphalt paving up there at Highland Village, so that paving work is temporarily complete. They're gonna come back at the end of the construction to do the asphalt wearing course, the top course. So paving is complete up at Highland Village for now.
Okay.
I did go down to the DEP's Pittsburgh office today to do the file review for the Mingo Circle Sewer project, so I was able to obtain quite a good number of documents related to that project. So we're going to review, our office is going to review those, and we'll share copies with the township, obviously. And then I think we should probably schedule a follow-up conversation with the supervisors and Dennis's office and our office as well to talk about how we progress that project forward. Third on the list is Veterans Park. I did receive some documents from Plavchek, the contractor down at Veterans Park. Started to take a look at those, and there are some, it looks like there's some remaining work items on there that need to be completed. So I forwarded copies of those documents to the township. If you want printed copies of the drawings, I can bring those down at some point. But that's another one I think we should sit down with Dennis's office and the supervisors to talk about the remaining work items and how we want to go about getting that contract closed out with Plavchek. So item 4 on the list is the MS4 summary. I put together a couple-page summary of the MS4 program for this meeting. That was something we talked about last meeting, wanted to figure out where we're at with the MS4 program. So that's in front of the supervisors now. There is quite a bit of work that we need to do in the next 10 weeks to maintain our permit compliance. It doesn't look like anything was completed last year, which is certainly problematic. So I think once the supervisors have had a chance to take a look at that, and everybody's present here, Michelle included, we probably should schedule some type of a workshop meeting, so that I can kind of review MS4 in a little more detail with all 5 of the supervisors and the pertinent township staff. I think the road crew should be there, certainly Albert, Lori, potentially anybody else who might be involved with the MS4 program should be there. And I think we need to kind of map out what needs to be done here in the next 10 weeks to make sure we can submit our annual report in September and maintain our permit compliance. So the last thing I want to do on that before a workshop would be to put together sort of an overview document that would, I was talking with Chuck a little bit before the meeting, but maybe a timeline for what we do the next 10 weeks so that we can have everything accounted for and make sure there are quite a number of permit requirements. So it's going to take some effort to make sure we maintain compliance with the state. And then the last item on my list was the Tuscany Estates update with the infrastructure bond there. So Pete, if you want me to send you a copy of the letter that we sent certified, I can certainly do that tomorrow morning. So, and then that's all I have for now. If anybody has any questions, I can do my best to answer them at this point.
Yeah, TJ, what's the status of the bond for Tuscany?
So we did not find anywhere in developers' agreements or in the bond itself a stated expiration date. So we're of the mindset that that bond is still current. The value of the bond might be a different story. We may not have enough money in that bond to complete the work that's outstanding. So that could potentially be a problem down the road. But we did receive verbal indication from Quaker that those infrastructure improvements had already been completed. So he was supposed to supply us with documentation that this was done and request a final inspection, etc., so that we could go ahead and do what we need to do to close out, close those phases of the project out. So I'm hoping that they respond here in a timely manner by the end of the month and we don't have to pursue any other action, but that remains to be seen at this point. But to answer your question directly, Larry, the bond, we believe is still active. We have no reason to believe otherwise.
Is there any way to find out what the value of that bond is? So
The value of the bond is $138,000. It looked like at points last year when Harshman was preparing their letter, their punch list, if you will, they had their estimate of what that would cost. I don't remember that number off the top of my head, but it was different and higher than what the bond amount was. So there are provisions in the municipality's planning code when this sort of thing happens. You know, if the developer fails to complete the improvements, there are provisions in there and avenues for the township to complete the work and, you know, be reimbursed by the developer for the difference in the bonded amount
All right, that's
and the
good to
amount
know.
of infrastructure costs. So there's avenues.
Okay.
Ma'am, since you've been asking before on South Street Park, Steve, TJ, and myself have been out to Veterans Park just to keep up to date on that one. The infield is at the point now where they can probably complete the infield, but there's an awful lot of work to be done. I can tell you right now that there's fencing that has not been completed yet. There is questions concerning the right-of-way on the backside of the park that will have to be answered by the solicitor, as well as what we do with the engineer. So all I can tell you is, I'm not really all that optimistic on everything being finished this year yet.
Wasn't there a motion last year to purchase that fence? And it carried to purchase?
It's there, they're
The
gonna,
fence is there,
yeah, it's there,
it's
yeah.
just not been
It's not
installed.
installed yet.
Part of that might be because there is a great deal of work to be done on the field, in the outfield itself. Steve and I both looked at it, and I saw more stone than I saw topsoil as far as that goes in the baseball field. I certainly wouldn't want to slide on that field, I can tell you that. In addition to that, there are some things that were outstanding projects that apparently the previous board had included in the project that I don't see the necessity for them, and I think they're vanity projects more than they are, including such things as they originally wanted to put a press box in. There were
For
batting
what?
cages that were going to be, what, $20,000 to $30,000 a piece for the batting cages? I think we need to eliminate from this project altogether. These are not expenses that we need to be incurring.
Right.
If you wanna go to a batting cage, go to Cool Springs. So what we're gonna have to do is sit down with all of us, the solicitor and the engineer, and put together the work list we want finished on that part, and I want a bid back from him. Cause I don't know how much yet he's been paid for that hasn't been finished. We're gonna have to go over all that before we establish how much we're gonna do and how he is going to get paid. All of this is things that we're gonna have to determine at, I don't know, some kind of a workshop or something that we're gonna do.
Right.
Because there's a lot of projects around here in the same situation. We don't know exactly where everything stands. This MS4 program is going to be expensive, but it's a state requirement. It's not something we can exactly ignore or dodge. You've
Right.
gotta do it, and it's gotta be done soon. There's dates coming up real close on finishing up a lot of these reports that are gonna have to be sent in. The parks, at least Veterans Park, I don't think there's any money left as far as having to satisfy anything for any grants that we received or anything. But we have a park down in El Rema that we just managed to get the letter off of Harshman to be able to get the first part of the project paid for, so we can start the second part of the project. All of these different things are gonna hold us up on projects around this township, and there's interest in people coming into Union Township to want to either live here or set up jobs here. But they wanna see progress. They wanna see an operating township. Not one where we're replacing personnel every 3 months, because I won't even get into that. That's a problem.
One thing that is over at the park, the big thing too over there is, parking for handicap parking. That was a big discussion deal over there, and that has to be addressed.
Where TJ and I are talking on that, and he says But you still had something you had to check out before we can start making a decision.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, but that was one of the things we said we would have to check out, cause there was some thing that they had an area that was already, I thought it looked like it was cemented already or something, thought that was only for handicap, but I don't know for sure if that can be or not, we don't know till we investigate it more and see what we're going to do, but there has to be handicap parking areas set up there before that thing would be completed.
yeah, and there needs to be viable means for handicapped folks to
Right.
park,
Mhm.
and then not only park, but
To
make
get-
their way up to the
Right.
seating
Yes.
area and, yeah, so. Yeah, there's a couple of items on the hit list there. Batting cages are one, the fence is one, the parking area is one. The encroachment situation is one, so like Chuck alluded to, we got a copy of the contract drawings from the contractor. So that's what the contractor bid on, obviously. We're checking with the Conservation District, Washington County Conservation District, for a copy of the drawings that were issued as part of the NPDES permit for stormwater. Because we can't construct more impervious surface at that park than what's issued on the Conservation District permit without a whole nother set of complications. So I think, yeah, there's a couple of hit list items we need to take a look at, and we need a couple more pieces of information before we can do that, which we're working on gathering. And then I think Chuck's right, we need a group conversation about how we go forward.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the engineer? Supervisor reports?